Welcome back, guys. So now I want to talk about a particular topic related to personality psychology, but it's something that's also relevant to mental health because people who fall under this umbrella term, they definitely experience a lot of, you know, um, different kinds of mental health challenges. And we're gonna, elaborate on this in detail. And I feel like this is a condition that doesn't quite get the attention that it deserves. And it's something that might be seen a little bit more in some other nations. So it is what it is. But anyway, I think it's an important topic to discuss during Mental Health Awareness Month. And, I've had an interesting experience with one individual who had this condition. So, in personality psychology, it, neuroticism is one of the major personality traits in the Big Five model. Now, people who score high in neuroticism, they tend to experience emotions more intensely, more frequently, and these are usually negative kind of emotions. They're stress related, like anxiety, frustration, embarrassment, guilt, shame, sadness. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that these individuals are irrational, they're dramatic, they're mentally ill, they're crazy. No, it's not really a temperament pattern. It is a temperament pattern, sorry, not a diagnosis. All right. So, yeah, it's not a diagnosis. And now about the common behaviors associated with high levels of neuroticism. So, when they really experience this, they may start overthinking conversations or decisions. They may start worrying about future problems. They can become highly sensitive to criticism or rejection. They take things too strongly. They experience, mood swings or emotional reactivity is pretty noticeable in them. They're constantly seeking reassurance and, catastrophizing small mistakes or just catastrophizing in general. It is a part of their nature. So any kind of mistake or error that occurs, it just drives them crazy, and they feel like their world is about to end, basically. And they may experience like difficulty relaxing even when things are relatively okay, mostly fine. It's not really a bad day. And again, they take setbacks personally, right? So if they're failing to progress, they're gonna start thinking about it. They become really self-conscious about it. And obviously, compared to the average person, they become stressed rather quickly. And they have this habit of rumination where they just can't stop thinking about certain events. And this just keeps repeating in their mind over and over and over again. And these could be events that are more recent, or they could be events that occurred many years ago. And they don't necessarily have to be too traumatic, but it's something that's always on their mind. And something interesting to note about people who are neurotic, uh, they're usually perfectionistic. They're usually self conscious socially. They're more avoidant of anything that involves uncertainty, danger, risk, right? Things of that nature. They're more likely to interpret ambiguous situations negatively. They don't like it. They want to be on top of things. They want to have control over situations. So they don't like some kind of nasty surprise, like something, that's a little bit too risky. And having said that, neuroticism has some upsides, some advantages, some benefits too. So people who are highly neurotic or above average in neuroticism, they tend to be more vigilant or aware of risks. They're more emotionally perceptive individuals. They're more conscientious about avoiding mistakes, right? Which is great. They're more empathetic to distress in others. So, if you're having a hard time or you're experiencing a lot of stress in your life, they'll display, great amounts of empathy toward you. They like that, kind of bond. And they're more motivated to prepare, plan, or improve. So that's something kind of remarkable to see. And I did have a student who, you know, experiences this condition, and all these positive things that I'm explaining to you right now, she did tend to display, like 90% of them, I can say. And on the outside, when we view these people outwardly, it kind of varies a bit because there are different types. So one person may appear to be rather anxious and talkative about their worries, right? They're kind of upfront about it. Another may seem more irritable, annoyed, defensive, or withdrawn. They don't want to go into too many details. They're more reserved about their problems and issues. And finally, there are some types where they may look completely composed externally. Everything looks fine, relatively normal on the outside, right? Um, Nothing that's really distinguishable. However, internally, they're really spiraling, right? Things are not going that well deep inside. So that's just something to note. So this is like, one of those personality conditions that's kind of fascinating for me because I haven't ran into too many people that deal with this issue. But when I did run into one person, it really helped me develop a much better understanding of what she was going through and what her situation was like. And about causes, I didn't touch on that, but there could be genetic factors at play. There could be developmental issues too. Sometimes it may stem from trauma during childhood, having strict parents, bullying, and other kind of factors can play a role here as well. So it's something, to know.